Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. And today I want to share with you one of the coolest budget blades that I am aware of. Certainly one of the coolest Ganzos, but even compared to a lot of other budget blades, these are absolutely great. This is the Ganzo 753. I have the black and satin version of this. Both are pretty good. I like the satin a little bit more, so that's the one I've carried a little bit more. If you notice on the black coating, there are no marks yet, and that's because I've only used it a little bit compared to this one, which I do prefer. Now, I want to say that, you know, when it comes to budget knives, I normally appreciate the practicality, I appreciate the usefulness, I appreciate that you can get a lot of function for a very good price, and I think all of those things are worth appreciating. But when it comes to this knife, this is honestly, and this is, I'm not exaggerating a bit, this is honestly the only budget knife that I have ever looked at out of package and went, whoa, what a sweet looking blade. It's the only budget knife that I've ever shown to anyone and they were like, wow, that is such a nice looking knife. It's really, really well done. Not only is the appearance of this absolutely great with the blue anodized hardware, but the you know, construction and the usefulness and the ergonomics and the blade shape are really well done. And for, you know, about 20 bucks, you are hard pressed. And honestly, I would almost say that for 20 bucks, you are not going to find a better functioning, performing knife than this, okay? Just absolutely outstanding. And I have said before, and I maintain that Ganzo is, of all of the budget Chinese companies, and I know there's a few of them, but Ganzo is certainly the one that I've had the best experience with, and I really feel like they're, you know, kind of head and shoulders above the Enlins and Senran Mews of the world. So let's go ahead and give you size and weight on this knife before we switch over to the top-down view. Sorry about that. So this knife overall is 8 1/4 inches, so right in that EDC sweet spot. The blade is just a 1/16 over 3.5 inches, like it's just a little over 3.5 inches, and the handle is 4 3/4. You do have, the weight on this, by the way, is very impressive at just over 4 ounces, like 4 and change. And part of that is because this is milled out. Now I won't be able to show you here, but when I zoom in to the close-up view, I think you'll be able to see that. I've got to say, if you've never had a Ganzo knife, and if you know, you normally are not that into it, this is one that, you know, this is the best Ganzo I've seen, okay? I'm sure there are other people that have more than me that have seen something better, more interesting, but from my experience, I've had quite a few, and this is the best one, just bar none. Okay, so let's switch over to a close-up version of this, and I'll go over the details with you. All right, guys, so here we are getting a little more up close with the Ganzo 753. Sorry about the fingerprints. Just give me 1 second there, and I'll wipe that blade off. There you go, that's a little bit better. As you can see, I have got a little more use on this, like I said. So yeah, here we go. This is a closer up version of the Ganzo 753. It's very, very nice looking knife. And let me make one comment to begin while I've got both of these kind of here nicely in frame. If you look through ProTech's catalog, I'm convinced that the styling for this knife is borrowing from ProTech, okay? But like a few other Ganzos, you know, there's some that are borrowed from Spyderco and a few different companies, Griptilian or Benchmade, as evidenced by this guy right here. But they are going a little more, it seems, out of their way to make some changes. So although I would say they're borrowing some styling tips from ProTech here, by the way, ProTech is not the only company that has this blade shape, but this is not exactly like, you know, if you compare it to a TR3 or a TR4 or a 5 or a few other models, there's no model that this is exactly like. So it's not really a clone or even a copy. It's you know, just a knife that borrows some of the styling. And guess what? Even outside of the Chinese manufacturers, we see that, you know, reference the the Kershaw Microtech stuff going on right now. And I mean a number of other companies. If you remember, Jason Brous got mad with somebody over the same type of thing. Anyway, so I'm not going to get into too much about the clone, copy, that kind of stuff here, because really this is neither one. Okay, this is its own knife. And yeah, if you're going to suggest that it's probably borrowing a little from the ProTech, I wouldn't argue with you, although I wouldn't there's no specific ProTech model that this is an exact copy of either. Okay, so blade on this, let's start with the blade. Let's, for the sake of difference, give you a look at the black or the black coated, and it's really more of a gray coated version. Also the clip on this one is coated. Okay, so the blade on this is you know, a very nice drop point blade with all belly, very high flat grind, really good edge geometry on this, super acute point. Okay, so there would be, hold on, let's get you to focus there. So there would be the possibility of breaking the tip off of this knife. But unlike other knives, you know, if this knife costs $60 or $100, you might be worried about that. But for 20 bucks, if you break the blade off, are you really going to be that concerned about it, or just throw it away and buy a new one? So it is, yeah, a little fine for the tip strength there. My experience though has been quite good with this knife. And so let me also add here, this is Ganzo's 440C, and I'm not gonna you know, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. If you want to know about the performance on this 440C, you need to go over and watch the Birdshot TV or Birdshot 4's video where they just go crazy trying to get this steel to dull, and it's you know, it's like a 3-part video. So go over and check that out, and I think you'll be very impressed with the performance on this steel. And I know in my own experience I've been more than satisfied with how 440C has held up for me, or especially how Ganzo's 440C has held up for me. By the way, just keep in the back of your mind that you do see 440C on, you know, some $200 Bokers, and they seem to think that that's an acceptable steel. You know, I'd like to see something better in those cases, but here you are for 20 bucks getting that same steel, which I think is quite good. What about lockup and deployment? Well, this is the non-axis lock, okay? It's not quite as nice, not quite as good or smooth as an actual Benchmade, but I will say, of all the Ganzos that I've had, this one is the best, followed closely by this one. This is sort of the Griptilian clone, and again, even this one is quite a bit different from an actual Griptilian, and I like this better because it's a little bigger, and that was one of my complaints about the Griptilian, was the size. Okay, review of this will be coming up, and a giveaway as well. But back to this knife here, you know, the performance on this lock and the smoothness on this deployment has been very good. You can see that it's hard to do on camera, but yeah, you can flick this open quite nicely, which is not always the case with Ganzos. Now I will say, let's try it. I can actuate the lock one-handed, but it's pretty tough. On most of my Benchmades, I can easily actuate the lock. Sorry about that. I can easily actuate the lock with just my thumb. My experience is, generally speaking, that with Ganzos I can't. By the way, this one is not as smooth as the other, and that's one of the things you're going to run into with some of these knives, is that there's a little bit of lack of consistency on the sort of quality control. Also, by the way, the painted blade or the coated blade probably impacts the coefficient of friction between that blade tang and the washers that are in there. So, lockup and deployment, quite good. Blade, quite good. Let's move on to the handle. The handle on this is a very nice looking carbon fiber laminate. It is over G10 with a G10 backspacer. And from this angle, yeah, there you go. You can see that this knife is milled out to save on that weight, and that's how they get down to that, you know, around 4 ounce weight. So what else do I need to say about the handle? Well, it's pretty nice looking with these blue anodized hardware. It's not all exactly the same blue. Okay, I'll bring you in close so you can kind of check that out. If you look there, come on, focus. You can see the difference in color between the body screw here and the screws in the clip, and then even the body screw over here is a different color than that one. These two things are different colors, so even though they are all anodized, you're getting a little inconsistency. Still looks really sharp as far as I'm concerned. That certainly doesn't ruin anything for me. All right, and the handle construction is quite solid and quite comfortable. Sorry about that, I kicked the camera leg there. In hand, this knife is very comfortable. I've actually done quite a lot of work with this one and found it very good. You know, I get a nice full comfortable grip. It's pretty comfortable in any kind of variation that you want to hold it in. Doesn't really matter how you grip the knife, it's quite good. The carbon fiber is a little slick, but the jimping is actually sharp enough that it works quite nicely, and so does, and this is rare, the backspacer here has this sort of geared pattern in it, and this actually serves pretty nicely as jimping as well. All right, finally, let's take a look at that very large lanyard hole and the reversible clip. So this is an ambidextrous knife, left or right hand. The function is going to be the same. And so yeah, for you lefties out there, that's a great option. So there you go, guys. That's my take on the Ganzo 753. Honestly, what I've got to say about this is literally, this is the only budget blade that actually, you know, makes me go, wow, that is like an Instagram worthy picture. That is a gorgeous looking knife. They've done a really good job with this, and the performance actually lives up to the looks. A couple other Ganzos here to throw in at the end for you. There is the stainless steel liner lock, and that is, I'll give it to you here, maybe. I don't know if you can see that or not. I can see that it's the G742. Hopefully you can see that as well. And the other one that I brought in here a second ago that's sort of Griptilian-ish is the 739. That's in carbon fiber as well. So, by the way, all of these knives, one example of each of all of these knives will be given away in the not too distant future, so make sure you stick around for that. And we will talk to you soon.